The world of luxury yachts has always been a stage for excess, elegance, and envy. Expensive champagne, glistening decks under the sun, and guests in designer attire. This is the image the media loves to sell. But sometimes, behind the polished veneers and curated Instagram shots, the reality is far more shocking. Imagine paying hundreds, sometimes thousands, per hour for a service that promises exclusivity, intimacy, and royal-level attention, and discovering that the truth is far less glamorous. This is the story of one of the most talked-about figures in the world, a woman whose very name evokes royalty, charm, and public fascination. Meghan Markle. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. It begins with a question that has been quietly circulating among insiders in the yachting world. How does a woman like Meghan, a former actress and now a global celebrity, operate when she is outside the prying eyes of the palace and paparazzi? What happens when the cameras capture her not on a red carpet, but in a completely different environment, a luxury yacht, miles from land, surrounded by people who are paying top dollar for an experience they believed would be extraordinary? The documentary, which has just been released, reveals it all. And the first thing viewers notice is Meghan herself. Pale, tense, occasionally uneasy. Moments of discomfort that were previously unseen by the public. From the very first scene, the tension is palpable. The camera pans across the yacht's deck, sunlight bouncing off the water, guests laughing and raising glasses in celebratory toasts. Meghan steps into the frame, poised, but something is off. Her eyes flicker with uncertainty, a slight twitch in her jaw. The smile, though polite, does not quite reach her eyes. Anyone familiar with the world of luxury yachting would notice. There is a gap between expectation and reality, a dissonance that becomes the heartbeat of this documentary. You might wonder, what could possibly cause someone so accustomed to public adoration to appear visibly unsettled? Insiders reveal that the fees charged for her services, $100 per hour, sparked disbelief even before she stepped aboard. For a figure of Meghan's stature, such a rate seems almost impossibly modest. Yet, the reactions were immediate. Guests whispered among themselves, comparing what they had been promised to what was unfolding before their eyes. Expectations in the luxury world are measured in nuances, attention to detail, anticipation of needs, and an almost intuitive understanding of the client. Every gesture, every word, every minute counts. And in those initial hours, many guests felt a subtle but undeniable gap. Questions began to circulate. Was this really what royal-level service looks like? Or was there something else at play? The documentary doesn't just reveal the discrepancies. It captures the human side of it. Meghan's pale expression is not just a fleeting moment. It is a signal of the tension between her carefully crafted public persona and the demands of this new environment. For years, she has navigated the glare of the press, court politics, and public expectations. Yet on a yacht, with cameras capturing unguarded moments, the stakes are different. Every interaction is magnified. Every small mistake becomes fodder for discussion. Every pause in conversation is scrutinized. It is here, in this unusual arena, that the cracks begin to show. It would be easy to dismiss this as mere criticism from disgruntled guests or hyperbolic media coverage. But the documentary includes interviews with crew members, guests, and experts, all painting a vivid picture. Crew members speak in hushed tones about how difficult it was to reconcile the promotional material with the actual experience. Guests recount moments where service felt perfunctory, inconsistent, or simply not what they had imagined. These testimonies are interspersed with clips of Meghan herself, calm, composed, yet undeniably tense, highlighting a stark contrast that viewers cannot ignore. And yet, the story is not entirely one of failure or misjudgment. Meghan's appearance, her gestures, and her subtle responses are a window into the pressures of living under constant observation. The documentary cleverly juxtaposes glamour and tension, public expectation and private challenge, creating a narrative that is as compelling as it is uncomfortable. Viewers are left to grapple with contradictions. A royal figure, commanding attention, yet seemingly ordinary in her human vulnerabilities. How does a woman of her experience navigate the expectations of a hypercritical environment? What happens when the carefully constructed image meets raw reality? As the opening sequence unfolds, the audience is immediately drawn in by these questions. What was supposed to be a demonstration of luxury service turns into a case study of expectation, perception, and the weight of fame. The narrative is carefully constructed to ignite curiosity, layering anecdotes, observations, and insider perspectives in a way that feels immediate, dramatic, and urgent. Every frame, every statement teases a revelation. Every interaction hints at a deeper story waiting to be uncovered. Even casual observers of celebrity culture are likely to feel the tension. Why is a globally recognized figure, whose every move is meticulously documented, suddenly the subject of scrutiny in an environment so seemingly ordinary? The documentary provides answers, but not all at once. Instead, it employs the strategy of suspense: reveal a detail, pause, and then offer context later. This mirrors the audience's own experience, expectation, doubt, and eventual realization. It's a masterclass in storytelling, designed to maintain attention and provoke conversation long after the credits roll. Moreover, this story touches on broader cultural conversations. Meghan Markle has been both celebrated and criticized in equal measure, often polarized in public discourse. Her transition from actress to duchess to public figure, navigating multiple identities, adds layers to how we interpret her actions. On the yacht, we see the collision of persona and reality. A royal accustomed to global attention interacting with a world defined by precision, critique, and immediate evaluation. The documentary allows us to witness a moment where personal vulnerability and public scrutiny intersect in a way that is rare and revealing. And yet, despite all the glamour, despite all the meticulously curated images we have seen over the years, there is an undeniable humanity to these moments. Meghan's pale reactions, her subtle discomfort, the way she navigates small talk and service requests, all of it tells a story that no public statement or social media post could fully convey. It challenges viewers to reconsider assumptions, to question what is performance and what is authentic, and ultimately to reflect on the nature of celebrity, expectation, and human behavior under pressure. By the end of the introduction, the audience has been set on edge. They have been invited into a world of luxury and expectation, only to discover that reality can diverge sharply from perception. They have glimpsed Meghan Markle as few have seen her before, unguarded, tense, and navigating challenges that many might assume are trivial, but which in this context carry immense weight. And as the scene fades, the audience is left with a lingering question, one that will drive engagement through every chapter of the documentary. How did it come to this? And what happened next on that fateful yacht? The stakes are clear. This is not just a story about a royal figure providing services. It is about perception versus reality, fame versus competence, expectation versus execution. It is about human behavior under scrutiny and the contradictions inherent in celebrity life. And it is about a pale expression captured on camera that speaks volumes, signaling tension, discomfort, and perhaps the first cracks in an otherwise carefully polished persona. The first thing you notice when stepping onto a luxury yacht isn't the polished wood, the gleaming chrome, or the sun reflecting off the water. It's the expectation. Every detail is designed to impress, every surface meticulously maintained, every interaction choreographed to perfection. Guests arrive with high hopes, wallets open, and imaginations set on indulgence. And then, just as you think you've seen it all, someone like Meghan Markle steps onto the deck, and suddenly, those expectations are recalibrated. The yacht was a floating palace, more opulent than many five-star hotels on land. It stretched over multiple decks, each one adorned with plush seating, polished tables, and sunbeds that seemed designed to cradle luxury itself. The kitchen was a marvel of stainless steel and marble, staffed with a crew trained to anticipate every culinary whim. Entertainment systems capable of streaming the latest blockbusters were hidden in sleek compartments. And yet, despite all this, there was a palpable tension in the air. It began the moment Meghan boarded. Not with fanfare, not with cameras flashing, but with a quiet attention that came from the crew who had been briefed for days, even weeks, in anticipation. They had prepared for royalty, for celebrity, for the kind of experience that demands both skill and finesse. Every move they made was under scrutiny, every step choreographed like a delicate dance. And then Meghan arrived. She was poised, elegant, and undeniably composed. But there was something that the camera captured immediately. A flicker of hesitation, a subtle tightening of the jaw, a glance that lingered just a second too long on the guests around her. The crew noticed it. The guests noticed it. And soon, it became impossible not to notice. For the guests, this yacht was supposed to be a paradise, an escape from the mundane world. They had booked weeks in advance, paying fees that could make ordinary mortals' heads spin. $100 an hour seemed almost laughable for someone of Meghan's status. But the promise was implicit: royal-level attention, charm, discretion, and service that would elevate the experience beyond anything they had imagined. And yet, as the first interactions unfolded, the reality started to differ. Small moments, almost imperceptible at first, began to accumulate: a delayed response to a question, a misread social cue, a subtle misalignment between expectation and delivery. The documentary captures these early moments with startling clarity. Cameras positioned strategically across the yacht catch Meghan navigating conversations with guests. A toast is raised, smiles exchanged, but the subtle tension lingers in the air. Crew members whisper among themselves about how unusual it is to see someone so accustomed to the spotlight exhibit such micro-expressions of unease. Observers might dismiss it as nerves, or perhaps fatigue from travel. But the narrative builds the sense that there is something deeper happening, something that is about to escalate. By the first evening, the mood on the yacht had shifted subtly. Guests who had arrived with laughter and champagne found themselves noticing the smallest details. How Meghan held her glass, how she responded to questions, how she interacted with staff. It was a masterclass in observation, almost forensic in its intensity. And while some tried to rationalize the moments, blaming jet lag, the unfamiliar environment, or the pressure of being filmed, others began to whisper about the $100 per hour fee. Was it worth it? Did the presence of a royal figure truly enhance the experience, or was it, in fact, a veneer masking something less remarkable? The documentary cuts to an interview with one guest, whose expression conveys a mixture of disbelief and amusement. "We were expecting perfection, but it felt human. Too human. And not in a charming way." There is a pause, a chuckle that doesn't reach the eyes. "I mean, $100 an hour for this." It is a line that resonates throughout the film because it encapsulates the dissonance between expectation and reality. Meghan's presence should have been transformative, elevating the yacht experience into something unforgettable. Instead, it became a mirror, reflecting the guests' assumptions and highlighting the fragility of carefully constructed reputations. Meanwhile, the crew had their own reactions. Behind the cameras, in hallways and service areas, whispers circulate about the challenges of maintaining composure, of anticipating every need, of managing both the public figure and the private moments that no one else sees. The tension is not just in Meghan's demeanor. It permeates the environment, influencing how every interaction unfolds. The documentary captures these perspectives with precision, revealing that luxury service is not just about amenities. It's about psychology, perception, and the delicate balance between expectation and reality. One of the most striking sequences comes during a formal dinner. The table is set immaculately, each plate a work of art, each glass sparkling in the soft lighting. Meghan is seated among guests, engaging in conversation. At first glance, everything appears normal, but the camera lingers on her expressions. The slight stiffening of her shoulders, the rapid blinking when a guest questions an aspect of the service, the pause before she responds. These are micro-moments that would escape an untrained eye, but under the lens of the documentary, they reveal an underlying tension that is impossible to ignore. Guests, for their part, attempt to mask their reactions, maintaining polite smiles and engaging in small talk. But the whispers begin again. About the cost, about the perceived lack of personalization, about the subtle ways in which the experience deviates from what they had envisioned. It is a delicate social dance, one where every step matters, and every misstep is magnified by expectation. By the end of the evening, the subtle tensions have escalated into something more noticeable. Meghan retreats briefly to her quarters, the camera capturing her moment of solitude, a pale figure against the opulence of the yacht's interior. She reviews notes, adjusts her posture, and steels herself for the next day. The crew exchanges knowing glances, recognizing that the narrative unfolding is more complex than a simple transaction of service. It is a story about perception, pressure, and the human desire to meet expectations that may be impossible to fulfill. As night falls, the yacht glows under strategically placed lights, reflecting off the gentle waves. Guests retire to their cabins, some murmuring about the first day's impressions, others silently observing, processing, and questioning. The stage has been set. The drama is not in explosions or overt conflict, but in the subtle dissonance between what was promised, what was expected, and what is being delivered. And just when the audience might assume that the tension will dissipate, the documentary cuts to a new scene. A whispered conversation between two crew members, discussing a minor incident from the day, but hinting at a larger pattern. The words are almost casual, but the implication is clear. Something is building beneath the surface, something that will escalate in ways no one aboard or watching could have anticipated.